Welcome and thank you for joining us. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. As many of you have tuned into our show over the years, you know that we like to stretch out and find different ways that people can approach what you could consider to be old problems. Certainly a lot of people, for instance, let's go ahead and take one out there, for example. Cancer. Most of us go out there and find the typical routines of radiation and chemotherapy or pretty hardcore invasive surgeries. But as many of us can see by those particular percentage rates, those just don't work too well. So you think of another way about approaching it. Perhaps changing lifestyle, which of course would be a great idea since it was that lifestyle that possibly got you there in the first place. Well, joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today is a special guest who did that very thing. Perhaps all of those conventional methods that were out there just weren't helping him treat the particular, let's say, malady that he had. So, realizing that he was into his particular folly, decided to go ahead and make his own thing, so to speak. We're going to find out about that today as we talk with Joseph Tahali here on the Beyond 50 radio program today, and about what it was that he did to take care of what he had. Joseph, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Now, tell us your story, Joseph. What is your journey of healing, and what was it that you finally had to pretty much take into your own hands and figure out?
Well, you know, Dan, over 25 years ago, I had this itching and scratching on my right big toe. I figured, okay, well, it was athlete's foot. I was working a lot outdoors. And then within a year, I also had it on my left big toe, and it was unbearable, you know. And then within another year after that, it was head to toe. And so I thought, I mean, it was pretty debilitating. And just to give you an idea of what I was going through at the time, and I thought I had some kind of a disease, a strange disease like Ebola or the Black Plague, because I've never even seen or heard of this before. And just to give you an idea, I would have really thick skin on the palms of my hands and the bottoms of my feet, and I would have what was called pustular, which means my skin was oozing from head to toe.
Oh boy!
Flaking like crazy. I had 3 fingernails stacked on top of each other, really thick and wavy, and same thing with the bottom of my feet. You know, I had huge claws. And 24 hours a day, 24/7, my best friend was my fork and my car keys, because I'd be scratching and, you know, just all over my body, unbearable. I couldn't sleep at night, obviously. I would wake up every morning with bloody sheets and scales all over the sheets, on the floors. And it went like that for a while. And, you know, I went to the doctors. They didn't know what it was. They said, well, I think it's this. I think it's that. I think it's eczema. Well, I think it's dermatitis. And, you know, I looked that up in the dictionary, and dermatitis is a fancy word for skin disease. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe that they went to medical school and specialized training for all those years just to give me a fancy term for skin disease. You know, obviously it was a skin disease, right? Well, anyways, then it was psoriasis, then it was this, and it was that, and I went to all these doctors that had PhDs, you know, dermatologists with PhDs, and every single one of them, I figured out that after about 20 of them, I stopped counting, that they were all just guessing. They had no clue what to do with me. All I wanted to do was to have them stop the scratching and the itching, because it was hard working, obviously, and at the time I lived in Las Vegas, so in the summers it was 130 degrees plus, and so it was very painful. It's excruciating all the time, and I don't know, too many at that time. I didn't know anybody that had the psoriasis and or eczema, but basically what it boiled down to is I had both psoriasis and eczema, pretty much pustular, every kind of that you could imagine. And, they couldn't even help me to stop my itching. And what they would do is they would say, well, try this. Joseph. I said, what do you mean try? You're supposed
we
to
believe this might work. Why don't you let us know?
Oh yeah, but it'll cost you $500. What do you mean try? And I would call back a couple days later after I had the prescription filled, right? And do you have a gallon bucket size? What are you talking about? I said, well, that was supposed to be a 30-day supply, but I went through it in 3 days because I'm covered, head to toe. And he said, oh, I can't do that. I can't prescribe you. I said, why not? This is toxic. I said, oh, my God. Gee, thanks, Doc. And then I said, you know what? I got to do something else. So I went to see another doctor. And same thing. Oh, let's try this. Oh, okay. So this is the routine we're going to be on. And then I would say, well, you're the expert here. You get the PhD. You're a brilliant scientist, right? Little did I know that's not really true. But basically, I said, well, you fix me. Cure me. I said, oh, they would start laughing. No, we can't do that. This is uncurable. And I said, well, then if that's the case, then I don't really need your services because I'm paying you a lot of money. And I had good insurance at the time, thank goodness. But I said, if you're not, it's like going to a mechanic and saying, fix my brakes. You come back the next day and he's changed your tires. Okay, you're not fixing the problem here, guys. There's got to be something that's causing it. Well, it's hereditary, it's genetics, it's this and that, and again, they're just making that up because they really don't have a clue what this is. They have no methodology for this, right? And I believe now, back then, I was miserable. I just wanted to fix anything they could fix. And, I believe now that, they looked at me as an ATM machine. And if they fix the broken ATM machine, then they won't, there goes the flow. So, but I do firmly believe that there's some good ones out there that are trying to help. But the majority of the doctors, especially dermatologists, I can't talk for every doctor, but with the dermatologists, they don't get it. And it took me a long time to figure out what was causing this, And so that was my story. And in the process, I wrote a little book back then. And I knew a hairdresser. I had a hairdresser friend. So I said, can you put this on your counter and see if anything happens? I don't know if this is popular or not, or if this is going to be any kind of a market for this, because I'm the only guy I know that has this. Well, lo and behold, everybody that sat in her chair, and then plus the other customers in the store, saw it, and they wanted it. I thought, oh, that's unusual. I didn't know it was like, it was that popular. Of a disease, if that's even possible, right? And so I did a lot of research back then, and it was before the internet as we know it. So, I lived in the bookstores. I lived in health food stores because I figured if the regular doctors can't fix it, there's got to be some other way to do it. So all the naturopaths, anybody that had a degree in nutrition, I just tortured them, and I would ask questions. Why? And, living in Las Vegas, everybody, comes there for seminars and putting on, shows and things of this nature. And so a lot of the doctors, the alternative healers and the doctors that I read about would come and they would put on seminars. So I would go to them and I would sit there and ask them questions. Same thing. Why? Well, what is causing this? How can I get rid of this? They said, at least they gave me a glimmer of hope. They said, well, there are toxins. There's stuff inside your body. So we have to get rid of it somehow. So I thought, okay. So I studied that, and I would try their methods. And, Dan, it was like putting together a 10,000-piece puzzle. If someone gives you a bucket full of puzzle pieces, 10,000 pieces, no picture, no diagram, they dump it under the grass, and they say, okay, put it together. Okay, well, what is it supposed to be? Can't tell you. It was kind of like that. You had to put all the pieces, a little bit of information here, a little bit of information there. And then you start arranging the pieces. The more pieces you get, you go, oh, okay, it's starting to make sense. And then I would try everything that they would talk about. The theory is this, the theory is that. And, oh, okay, well, this does this does that. Pycnogenol, emu oil, even urine therapy, Ayurveda, homeopathic.
There's some pretty crazy things out there, Joseph.
Oh, well, and everything, and I believe even with allopathic medicine, everything has its place. It's a tool to be used, but you've got to know which tools to use in which particular case, and so it just happens that I picked up a lot of these tools, and I used them for a long time to try to figure out what it is that's causing this problem. And I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, because I didn't want to live like that anymore. And so that was the beginning of my journey, if you can believe that. And what I say is that whatever issue you have with your body, there's a silver lining in there somewhere. If you can survive the treatment, there is definitely a lesson there. And a lot of times, what that is how to live a certain way. Because back in the day, I had 4 kids. I had a family, and living in Las Vegas, the buffets are $2.99. So it's not like that anymore. But back then, it was about $3, and it was a lot cheaper to take my kids out and eat every night. And so, but it wasn't the greatest of food. Most of it was garbage, and I didn't realize that. At the time, I thought we were eating healthy, And so what it did was it forced me to look at my lifestyle, my habits, my diet, and then because it forced me to try to figure out what was going on, I had to learn about all these different issues, skin, fat, what do sugars do, what kind of proteins, and blah, 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 blah. And, started connecting those little dots. We started putting more pieces on the board there, the 10,000-piece puzzle, and I started to make a picture, and I go, oh, okay, that's what that's supposed to be. Okay, well, this part actually goes here, this part goes there, and pretty soon you're filling in your own blanks and connecting the dots. And but, man, I'll tell you, it was a heck of a journey.
You actually unveiled, Joseph, a really, I guess I call it a fascinating view that we've actually had here on the program, but I think if a lot of people really step back and really look at a big picture, especially when it comes to health. And this is what I've noticed, and you can certainly lump natural healers, allopathic doctors and the like in this, but most of the best ones out there, and it doesn't matter if it's in the United States or around the world, are people who have had a deep, sincere discipline and passion for the healing arts. They didn't just go to a medical school, whereas you've said over and over, for instance, they learn a lot about theory, and of course they mush technology into the middle of it, and, pretty much as you said consistently, take guesses. And they also arrived at these conclusions, for the most part, of this other side of the coin, as you were talking about, through actual experience, having to really do the real deep research and meditation into the nature of the situation that someone has. And it really is fascinating because, as you said, as yours unfolded, all of a sudden there were others that were coming out of the woodwork that had or seemingly had the same sort of conditions that you did, that were out there finding the same kind of answers you were.
Yeah, well, for sure. And we on TV and on the internet, we debate about what is the best health care. Well, this type of health care is better, that type of health care is better. But in the natural world, and way back, and I studied Chinese medicine as well, and they've been doing medicine for thousands of years. They're not practicing medicine anymore. They got it down. And, their whole system is based on results. It's results-based medicine. And a lot of these healers out there, they would not be in business very long if they couldn't get results. If you went in for a backache, and it was not a chiropractic issue, and then they put needles at the acupuncture, you want to be able to leave without that pain. Okay, now it may come back later like anything else, but you don't pay the person unless they've gotten a result. When you go see an allopathic doctor, the results-based is based on, well, what kind of prescription can I get to fix this problem now? You know, if you have a pain, instead of getting to the core issue, the actual root cause of the pain, well, let's just mask the pain. Let's just take a pill, and instantly, within minutes, it's gone. Well, no, it's still there. The body knows it's still there. You just can't feel it because it's cut off the nerve paths. Well, that's not a very smart way to go, because your body will just keep breaking down over time. Well, how about let's just fix the problem, right, permanently? And to do that, you got to get to the core issue. And I think that's the big difference, in medicine. So what I would say is that if we want real health care on this planet, in the United States even, let's just start here, is, well, let's have results-based medicine like they used to have in the good old days. You paid your doctor when he fixed you. And then that way we'll get rid of 95% of the quacks and the healers and the doctors and everybody else that's pretending. And then, through insurance, everybody gets insurance, but cheap insurance, because we get rid of most of the people that can't really, they're only in it for the money and not in it, like you said, from the heart, because there's a lot of people out there and that want to help. And a lot of times, they're what I call wounded healers. They had an issue at one time, and that they figured out a way to overcome it, and they found their passion, and so they studied it to help other people. And I think that's really important, and not the only criteria, obviously, but man, it is. If you have cancer, go find a healer or a doctor that has it, because they'll really care. Because if they fix you, they also help themselves. And or if they've helped themselves, if they've cleared themselves, then that's a really good sign that they know what they're talking about, and so that's really important.
Now tell us, what sort of conclusions did you come to personally about what was going on with you?
Well, it took me a long time to figure this out, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, and I was the lab rat, and I was the guinea pig, so I had a really vested interest. I had a very personal vested interest. I wasn't just a client. So I tried everything, and crossed that one off the list, crossed that one off the list after trying it for a while. But anyways, what I discovered was, not only in the case of psoriasis and eczema, dermatitis, acne, anything on the skin that's not externally caused, like with like a fire, burn, or
sure.
Poison ivy, poison oak, anything that's externally based, but it's internal. And what I've discovered was the root cause, the actual root cause. And here's what's very interesting. The root cause for psoriasis and eczema really is a root cause of most other diseases, because your body's trying to figure this out. And, the only thing that could fix itself is the body, The body is the healer, not the medicine, not the herbs, not the healer, not the doctor, the body is the healer. And what I discovered as the root cause of psoriasis and eczema is toxins. It's a blockage. Any disease on this planet, it's very fascinating. It comes from a blockage, And we have different bodies, energetic bodies, right? We have the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the spiritual body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And what I found is that any disease on the planet, any ailment, comes from one thing and one thing only, and that's a blockage. There's a blockage somewhere in one of those bodies, and it always shows up in the physical. So, but it's also a physical blockage too. And so, and what kind of a blockage are we talking about? Well, toxins, and toxins could be toxic emotions. But on the physical realm, there's a lot of toxins, spraying in the air, the GMOs, the fertilizers, in the water. Pretty much we're surrounded by it. The stuff, you get new carpets, you're in a new car, you get all this off-gassing, and it just accumulates over time. But what happens is that it accumulates in our tissue, what I call toxic fat. Even if you're as thin as a rail, you have to have fat in your body in order to live, because fat is what makes all the hormones in your body. Without hormones, you will not exist. So you have to have some fat. And, there's fat underneath the skin, right? Well, fat stores toxins. I learned this in the 6th grade, and I don't know why the doctors don't remember this with all the training. But, fat stores toxins, and there's a little layer of fat under the skin. And so where it shows up on your body depends on where the body determines it's going to store that excess toxin, the toxin.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be heavy metals, arsenic, lead, mercury, cadmium, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It could be fungus, yeast, parasites, and all the chemicals that are in the system, And just to give you an idea of, and I have people come up to me all the time and, where do the toxins come from? Well, let's see. Do you drink tap water? No, that's poison. No, I don't. Well, do you take a shower in it? Well, of course. Okay. A 10-minute hot shower is equivalent to drinking 10 cups of that same exact water. But see, when you drink those cups of water, you have to digest it first. It goes through the digestive process before it goes to your bloodstream. Well, when you take a shower, all that, you open up the pores on your skin, so it's going directly into your bloodstream. You bypass the digestion, and you're also breathing in the fumes, from the steam it releases from the water. And so you're getting all those chemicals directly now into your system, and your body has to do something with that. And if your immune system is strong, it's not about taking, the pills or the magic, whatever, herbs. It's about strengthening your immune system. And to the extent that you do that, if the vitamin or the pill or the whatever helps you to do that, then your body can, in its intelligence process, get that and remove that from your system. And just to give you an idea of what your immune system is composed of is very fascinating, and most people don't look at it this way. It sounds like it's rocket science. Oh, immune system, there's all these different moving parts. Well, that's true. They all integrate. But it comes down to one thing. Dan, when you do your laundry at home, or your wife does the laundry at home, how often do you clean the lint screen on your dryer?
Well, I generally, clean it when it begins to look like it's becoming blocked.
A lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, either every load or every other load, usually, and it's very important. Well, we have one of those lint screens in our bodies, and it's called the liver. It filters your blood since you were born. It's a high volume filter as well. Unlike your laundry every couple of days, whatever. It's a gallon of blood every minute courses through your liver, and your liver filters out all the stuff that you're taking in, and dead cells, parasites, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's accumulating in your liver. Now, when was the last time you cleaned your liver? When was the last time you cleaned the filter? See, that's my point. And so the liver is your master immune system. It overrides every other system of the body, over 1 million functions through the liver. And the liver is the most important organ in your body, system in your body when it comes to health and healing and immune. It's your master immune system. It controls every function of every cell of your body. And yet no one ever tells us that. So if it's clogged, the filter is clogged, how is it going to be able to do the other functions well, like digestion? Your white blood cells, A cells, B cells, C cells, T cells are started via the liver. All of your gastric juices go from the liver into your stomach, and your intestines to digest, and also your salivary glands. The enzymes get released via the liver. It also chelates out all the heavy metals, arsenic, lead, all the toxins. And also when you breathe in, your lungs have to take all the gases and filter that through your system as well, through the bloodstream, and then the blood runs through the liver. Mm-hmm. And the liver is responsible for cleaning your entire system, plus over 1 million other things as well. And so it can't do its job well when it's clogged. If you just think about your car, how often do we change the oil in the air filter on our car, right? Every 3,000, every 5,000 miles.
Well, a true point, too, Joseph, now that you're going to use the car analogy, is the fact that there are a lot of people that take better care of their cars than they do of themselves.
Thank you. That's the point. Exactly. Or their laundry. We take better care of our stuff than we do of our bodies because we're never told that, And I think this should be in every kindergarten class. I think when you're a kid, you've got to learn this stuff because the body breaks down as we age because the filter never gets clean. And so if that takes place, then the body, the mechanism will start to break down, even mechanical systems. So we see that. You keep the liver clean, then you can live forever. I mean, figuratively speaking. And you look at the mountain peoples all over the world, the indigenous mountain peoples down in Peru, in the Andes, Tibet, China, Japan, Russia, they can live to be 120 to 140 years old. And I laugh when I see, Guinness Book of World Records, 113-year-old. Yeah, but they're all plugged up to all these cords. That's not living.
Right.
Here or somewhere else. But they never take the time or the effort to go to the mountain areas to talk to these people. 120 to 140 years old, and when they pass, they don't die from cancer or some other disease. They just decide it's time to go, and they usually die with a smile on their face. Now that to me is the way to do this. If you're going to live this life, that's the way to go as well. This is my opinion, but they work hard and they live hard, and it helps not to have all the fast food around them too, obviously. But it's because they found a way to keep their livers clean. Their immune system strong. They don't get sick. If they do get sick, it's for a very short period of time. So as far as the root cause is concerned, not just for psoriasis and eczema, but I've discovered, it's for a lot of other issues as well. Fibromyalgia. My mom had fibromyalgia. My mother-in-law had fibromyalgia. And within a few months, I said, well, Mom, try it. It won't hurt. I mean, it's natural. The stuff that we have is all natural. And it's all geared to get your immune system back so that you can't ever get this again, because once your immune system is strong, it's always strong, because we show you how to keep it strong. And so it took my mom 3 months. I said, try it, won't hurt. Worst case, it'll do nothing. At least the side effect is not death, like some of the drugs out there. So lo and behold, it actually fixed that. And then my mother-in-law, she was on 27 different meds for all the different pain she was having. She started with 1, then went to 2, then went to 3, and then went to 5, and one thing led to another to try to counter the side effects of the other med. And she just wanted to jump off a building. I said, well, Mom, try it. My mother, it worked on her. Let's see if this will help. Again, worst case scenario, it'll do nothing. Best case scenario, it might actually do something. So we tried it. It took her a little longer. It took her about 4.5 months. But I'll tell you, she's only down to 2 meds because she believes she needs them. I firmly believe she doesn't, but that's okay. That's her life. And, that's a whole lot better than 27. Mm-hmm. And so, but I guess what I'm getting at it, and then from there, friends, relatives, let's try this, let's try that. Let's get your immune system back and see if it does anything, for something new. And lo and behold, oh my God, it actually works. And so what I've discovered was not only the root cause of psoriasis and eczema, but for pretty much every other thing in the body too, and it all stems from toxins. And those toxins, when the immune system, your liver, gets clogged, it has to do something with those toxins or you will die. Mm-hmm. So in its infinite wisdom, what the liver will do, your immune system will store those in your fat, somewhere in your fat. And under the skin is one place, okay? And think about it. With psoriasis and eczema, dermatitis, acne, et cetera, on the skin, what happens is that the toxins are trapped right under the largest organ of your body. And it's also an organ of elimination. So after a while, it has to go somewhere, so lo and behold, right next door, there's this big organ that's going to release. So the body's detoxing through the skin. So that's why if you only attack it from the outside, you're not even addressing the problem. You can help with your skin, but you're never going to get rid of the problem because it's on the inside coming out. So in the case of other issues like fibromyalgia and lupus, we also have fat in your muscles, right? And so the toxins get trapped there, and so what happens is now they're stuck. They can't go anywhere. Not like the skin where it has somewhere to go. It's in the muscles and it's trapped. And that's why it hurts all over, and it progressively gets worse and worse and worse. They're taking pain pills just to get through the day, just to sit, just to walk. You can't go very far, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because the toxins are accumulating in the fat in the muscles and also around your joints. And so what happens there is that now your joints are so toxic that the tissues will start to break down, and because the tissue system can't deal with those toxins, right? They're accumulating, and so what happens to your soft tissue, your muscles, your joints, your bone even will start to deteriorate, and now you have what's called arthritis. Wow, what a concept! See, it stems from the same root cause, and same thing with other diseases. Your organs also have fat around them, and so the toxins accumulated around the organ, and then you have a disease specific to that organ. And, just name them. I mean, there's thousands of them, it seems like, on different variations, right? And so thousands of different issues with different organs and neurological system, the brain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you're looking at a system where it's a toxic world. We just got to get over it because it's not. So far, it doesn't look like it's going to get too much less toxic anytime soon, unless you create that for yourself. Mm-hmm. But the issue here again, is learn how to deal with the toxins in your food, in your water, in your air, and everything around you, but also get your immune system back so it can get it and clear it out of your body. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that, boy, it'll fix a lot of other things that you never even thought you had as well.
It's great to hear what you keep saying consistently, and that is there's only one cause. And we actually have had on the program more than once. It's a doctor out of California that says the very same thing. Oh. There's only one cause for disease or sickness, and then there was something like 2 pathways or something like that. Mm-hmm. But he really breaks it down, and this is somebody who's been a doctor, a medical doctor, for, I believe it's been more than 50 years. Wow. And it's so fascinating because here you're talking about how, well, if it's a skin problem, who do I go to? I go to a skin specialist. If it's an eye problem, I go to an eye doctor. And it goes on, and it's just, I think sometimes it's just like the worst thing that I felt happened in radio was the fragmentation and the creation of FM radio. Because there used to be a time you could hear so many different kinds of music, so you created a very well-rounded taste in music, so to speak. And then, of course, it became fragmented, and then you became very biased, and there you go. And here we're seeing the same thing, that these are supposed to be experts, and you would think, especially in your particular case, a skin doctor. Well, if that's all you're studying, it seems to me like you would have a heck of a lot more time on your hands to figure this out better than some of the solutions you've been giving me.
Right. And here's the thing, and bless their hearts, some of them are really trying hard, but when you only have 4 or 5 or 6 minutes to see a patient, and you've got a room stacked, right, of patients in every room, and you don't have much time to really sit there. Mm-hmm. And I used to sit down. The doctors are the PhDs, they think they know everything. I used to have them sit down and explain to me why they can't fix me. They can't give you an answer. It's genetic, so you have to live with it. Well, what's the gene that causes that? That's rocket science. And I said, well, then give me the exact gene. And I've talked to a lot of geneticists since then. They said there is no marker for any of this. There absolutely is none, and this is what they do for a living. And they're really good at it. And so I would ask them, is there a genetic marker? Nope. Okay, so that I already knew that. And they'll say, well, it's hereditary. I go, well, how can it be hereditary when no one in the family has it? Well, it skips a generation. No, I know well, it skips another generation, Because what happens is people demand answers. If you're paying for something, you want answers. And so if that's the answer they give you, it shuts most people up. Probably about 99% of the people, oh, it's hereditary. Oh, it's genetic. It's way beyond my scope, Or they'll say, well, it's autoimmune disease. I go, oh, okay. That's what shut me up because I couldn't argue. I didn't know anything about it, right, at the time. And so then I started studying it. Well, no, autoimmune means your immune system's attacking itself. I mean, technically speaking, that's the really easy version. Is your immune system's attacking itself. So if that's the case, I was catching colds back then a lot. Well, that would be pretty deadly, if you had Ebola or if you had AIDS and you got something. That's, full-blown AIDS, not just HIV, then it would be kind of deadly. You'd have to, or if you got advanced stage cancer, any little thing is going to throw because your immune system's out of whack. It can't protect you. So anyways, I thought, well, it can't be autoimmune disease because I'm not, deathly ill from getting a cold. I mean, just like normal. So it doesn't even fit the basic description of that. When you think it through, you go, okay, well, that's not right. That's not true. And so that's, all the answers they gave me was an impetus for checking out, well, if they were lying to me or not. And I just discovered they're all just making it up because they don't really know. But you're right. If you're only studying the skin, you're great at cutting the skin, you're great at grafting the skin, and I do believe that there's a place for them, but only in traumatic medicine, because if something happens, you want to get fixed, and that's a great way to do it, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to health and healing, they have zero training, and you can't blame them for that. People go to see them to get better, to get good health, but they can't even give you a definition of that. Their definition, well, when you're feeling good. Oh, okay. There really is no medically accepted version of what health is. Mm-hmm. We all know what it is, but there's no scientific version of that. Anyways, so I'm simplifying things, but basically, I just discovered that if you want to understand what's going on in your body, you better figure this out. I better figure this out. But it's really hard because everybody's got a theory. Everybody's got a brand new, like with the MLMs. Oh, they get a new thing from South America. They got someplace from, China or some herb, some magical elixir now. And, and that might work for certain things. Like I said, there's a tool for everything. Mm-hmm. And so if you just happen to find the right one, you're going to get miraculous results. And, one of the best things is just good, clean water. Probably 97% of the population of the United States, we do not drink enough water. And our bodies are mostly water, so if you look at it, you go, what would be the best medicine on this planet? Well, good, clean water, and lots of it to take internally, because that will help to flush out toxins. It helps to rejuvenate all the cells, hydrate like crazy, and keep the joints happy with the synovial fluid. It's all water. You also need water for the fat. And, and they work together. So you need the tools, obviously, to help with your system. So, when you look at the answers, it's not hereditary, normally, genetic, at least with what we're talking about. And there's some genetics involved. If your liver is not functioning well because you're genetically disposed that way, then you're going to have some issues, and you're just going to be fighting this. But at least if you know that, then at least you can, instead of trying all these thousands of different things out there like I had to do, then you can kind of narrow your focus down and fix your core issue, which is your immune system. And that doctor talking about is absolutely brilliant. He's a keeper. Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, Joseph, these are the kinds of people that we try to search. And it's really to bring, I don't really try to use the phrase common sense, because a lot of times that's just a group of beliefs that you grew up with.
Right.
But more like reason. Let's just approach this from reason. For instance, autism. This thing is just, since we've been broadcasting this program, the numbers are increasing.
Yes.
And continually the misinformation, and again, we don't know if it's because it's being deliberately misguided or because it's happening in such greater numbers now, that really it became an epidemic that doctors just weren't prepared for. So what they're mostly doing is saying this is a developmental behavioral disorder. Now, just the fact that you're calling it behavioral, oh my goodness, I mean, you're putting that into a realm that is almost like trying to pull a dream out of your sleep and making it a reality. It's just really not going to happen or have a very good result anyway. And the fact that they're not looking at something like that from a standpoint of, well, it's an epidemic, that can't be developmental, because it's happening too rapidly within half generations and even less, and as you were mentioning earlier, especially with your particular condition of the psoriasis and the eczema and the like, is that when they try to say, well, it's genetic. And Joseph, interestingly enough, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who has
I know him. I know him very well.
Okay, great. Who's written the best-selling book, The Biology of Belief. And here's the thing about that one, Joseph, is this. It got captured into the realm of self-help, and that's a great place for it. But if people who read that book really took in what he was talking about, this idea of the genetic debate about whether something is in the genes and hereditary would really be under some serious scrutiny, especially the way he talks about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you know the direction I can go with this, obviously.
Right.
And it fascinates me that it's great that, the biology of belief, it's about our beliefs, and, this is a self-help thing, and we can be greater than we can ever be, but look deeper into his studies, how he started the stem cell and the study of stem cell research back in the 1960s, for instance, and the idea of how genes, and let me put it to you this way, I guess, acclimation actually work through the genes, and it's really a fascinating study, and you wouldn't be listening to what you listen to today and simply go, oh, it's in the genes, I guess I'm just stuck this way. And as you've shown through your own study, a lot of due diligence, I might add, that you've shown that paradigm just doesn't even make sense.
Oh, yeah, and I know Bruce really well, and he's an awesome individual, and he was absolutely right. And he said it's an environment. It's toxins.
And your genes can acclimatize to that environment for protection.
Absolutely.
But by the same token, if that's true and it just can't do it anymore, then what does it do? Or you start doing the right things, your genes can begin to acclimatize to the new way of doing things just as rapidly. That's the beauty about it. So make it genetic, but realize that it's very elastic.
Well, yes, and think about the money that's involved. You always the money trail, and you always figure out who's doing what to whom. And just recently, within the last week, the Supreme Court ruled that you cannot, all these research labs, you cannot own genes because they're made from nature. Yay!
Aren't we glad that happened?
Man, I'll tell you what. People will get a lab test done, right, for cancer or whatever, so whatever kind of screening panel they were going through, and then the lab that actually did the test would now own your genes. So you can't go anywhere else, A, to get a test, or B, to get, let's say if you're going to do a genetic a process, they figured out some way to give you new genes that did whatever, and we're not talking Jordache or Levi here, okay? We're talking about some really expensive processes here that they want to monopolize. If they own your genes, your genetic makeup, guess what? You're screwed. If you think that and it's not the fix. But what they're doing is they're trying to make it so that they can monopolize something. They can own something where and so that's sad because none of that has anything to do with it. And if people read Bruce's books, he's got 3 books now, you will discover that he says 50 trillion cells in your body are there because they want to be there, and they're acting as communities in harmony with each other, right? All your organs are working flawlessly. If you're in good health, and they all communicate properly, but when you get toxins in your environment, they can't communicate anymore. And then things will start to break down, as in real life. In communities, if you don't communicate well, there's going to be misunderstandings and things are going to break down. And so the whole point here is to keep it clean, keep your body internally clean, get all the garbage out of the system. But there is no process for that in allopathic medicine. They don't have anything about keeping your body. They have no protocols for that. It's always about a new drug. Well, you're introducing a new toxin, a new poison.
Taking an active ingredient that you've discovered might be the way to stave off a particular malady that you're approaching, and you're able to patent that because you're not actually grabbing the whole plant and patenting it. It's the active ingredient.
Right. We all know. Yeah, we're on the same page on that. So the thing is, let's get to the core issue. And I don't care what problem, even in your everyday stress. Okay, there's now another answer to the question, well, what's causing this, doc, is stress. Okay. Well, what about stress? There's so many forms of stress. Deal with stress. There are ways to get rid of stress easily, no matter how bad it is, what you're going through. There's like one of them in the newest community is being in the now. That's a great way to do it if you can do that, if you actually practice that. There's other ways, tapping, EFT, Sedona method. There's all these other ways to get rid of the actual
Great sex is one as well. So a lot of people seem to underestimate the power of that one.
You better believe it. It is, especially when you're over 50, right? But, so the thing is, there's all these different ways to get rid of stress, but stress is just a trigger. See, it's not the actual cause. And so if you look at it, there's triggers. And then, like, for example, other triggers, there's food allergies, right? Mm-hmm. That's a trigger. A lot of people have food allergies. For example, you eat something with gluten intolerance is huge on this planet, especially, I would say in the United States because of the GMOs. See, mm-hmm. They're totally GMO'd. Wheat, barley, rye, oats, et cetera. They've just genetically mutated these plants to the point where the gluten is just off the charts. And Dr. Joel Wallach is another, besides Bruce Lipton, is another one of my heroes. And, he said, listen, if you ever had poison ivy or poison oak as a kid, blistered up and everything, itching and scratching, well, it was really similar to psoriasis and eczema. But anyways, so he says, you remember that? I said, yeah. Well, that's going on in your insides, in your intestinal tract, in your entire gut. But you don't have any nerve endings, so you don't feel any of that. Internally, that's what happens. Inflamed, pustular, the whole 9 yards on the internal, but you don't realize that by eating gluten. So there's a food allergy. Obviously nuts, shellfish, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But why is there such an explosion of that, too? Well, let's see. Your liver produces all the enzymes, all the gastric juices, everything. So if your liver is clogged, you're not going to be able to process anything. And over time, it just keeps breaking down until you get more allergic to more and more and more and more stuff. And the body is made to last a long time. And that's what Bruce said, too, in his book. He said, listen, your cells can live forever if you keep your environment squeaky clean. Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe that. Up to a point, forever, might be 100 years for some people. But, the mountain people can live to be 140 years old. And there's, throughout history, 500 years old in China, 100 years ago, somebody lived, I think, 544 years. Now, how true is that? I can't tell you, But all I can tell you is that when we get older, we should be enjoying our lives more, with more gusto, vitality, vigor, like you said, great sex, because your hormones are still functioning. And that's mm-hmm. because, and what they tell us, too, is that, listen, you have to eat less fat. Well, wait a minute. There's good fat and there's bad fat. So, right? Just
like the vitamin E debate first, you couldn't get enough of this stuff, and now, we're not so sure if that's really good for you anymore.
Right. Well, if you're deficient in vitamin E, you should probably take a bunch, but you got to get it from a good source. Most of the vitamins even and minerals come from petroleum-based products. Mm-hmm. How good can that be for your body? They're toxic. Anyway, but it's cheap to produce, so that's why they sell it to you, right? Mm-hmm. But so the thing is, good vitamins, bad vitamins, good minerals, bad minerals. What is a bad mineral? Well, anything that's a heavy metal that's inorganic is a bad mineral. Organic minerals come from plant sources are good. Mm-hmm. So same thing with fat. There's good fat, bad fat. Now, bad fat, bacon grease, things of that nature. But they're even finding out now that actually might be good for you. So I'm going to be looking into that more. But, coconut oil is really good for you. Olive oil is really good for you because they actually clean out your arteries. Mm-hmm. And, so it keeps them well greased, so all the plaque and the cholesterol.
Joseph, I just wanted to catch you on one of those real quick because I think we actually have this as a topic on our program, and that is coconut oil. Now, here was a fascinating thing that this person presented on our program is this is a great way to not only maintain but also improve the health of your teeth and your gums. Now, I wanted to bring this up real quick because in Portland, Oregon, where we're broadcasting from, if anybody's been paying attention around the nation, we just had a big vote to keep fluoride out of our water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And they've tried this before, and people in Portland, Oregon are saying, forget about it. Now, we're like the largest city so far in the United States that has non-fluoridated water. And I'm sure it's going to come back, but originally they tried to just slip it and pass it. You know, the little bureaucrats decided they were just going to put fluoride in our water, but we caught wind, and it turned into a nice debate, which got it on the ballot, and unanimously we said keep that fluoride out of our water. Okay, but back to the coconut oil. So this guy says, well, here's what you do. You go ahead and you get about 2 tablespoons, put it in your mouth, and you swish it around in your mouth for, I think he said about 20 minutes. I just couldn't fathom why you would leave it in that long. But
10 to 15 minutes, and then you actually
spit it out.
Well, you just take an area. Let's say if you have an issue with your teeth. Yeah, it's called the Fife method. Yes.
Okay.
And what you do is usually about 10 to 15 minutes in an area. Like even if you had, say you had a cavity and you were having major excruciating pain, and you do that, let's say twice a day. If it was a really abscess, gone. Usually overnight, anywhere from 50 to 100% better. Mm-hmm. And if you do that every day, you can actually kill off any of the bacteria, because bacteria does not like fat. So you'll be able to kill off any of the bacteria. So A, if you do it long enough, you'll fix it, or B, get rid of the pain so you can get to your dentist. Usually you've got to book them way in advance. So it'll give you the time to actually see your dentist. Hopefully it's a naturopathic dentist that can actually fix the problem and not put in, mercury back in your system. That's another whole issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course.
People, yeah. So you're right. And not only that, but here's the nice thing about coconut oil. You know that Alzheimer's is considered diabetes type 3. And so you go, that's interesting. That means the sugar issue, the blood sugar issue, and that's the main fuel for your brain is sugar. And so, but your brain is also encased in fat. So low-fat diet means that you're going to have less hormones and also your brain thing going, but it also somehow blocks the pathway to getting more fuel to your brain. So a doctor whose husband was going into advanced stages of Alzheimer's, she was trying everything. Nothing was working. And she was a doctor. She had access to all the greatest and latest medical stuff. So she read about the synthetic version of coconut oil. So she said, well, synthetic, wow, maybe it's better if we just use the real thing, right? So she and it's cheaper. You can get it everywhere. So
synthetic oil is great in cars, but let's stick to the real stuff when we're dealing with a human body.
All the cofactors, everything that goes into it, they all work together. If you just isolate one little thing and then blow it out of proportion, your body's just going to go crazy with it, But anyways, so basically what happened was within, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, he was almost back to normal. So you start with 1 tablespoon, and you drink that down with water. Then you go to 2, then you go to 3. So you go to 3 a day. As you age, it's just crazy. You go, well, wait a minute. Well, how come they don't tell us this stuff? They know about it. Same thing with the AMA has 300 known natural remedies for cancer. Do you think they're going to write the book and put it on the New York's bestseller list anytime soon? No. Because we all know why. But the thing is, they know all this stuff. So how come we don't know about it? Well, your job, our jobs, is to do the research. And, there's a lot of garbage out there, on the internet as well. Be very discerning, but check everything out. That's what scientists used to do in the good old days. Method was no matter what your hypothesis is going into it, or what your postulate or whatever you think the outcome is going to be, if the outcome is totally different, then you look at that and go, maybe I was wrong. Not keep pounding it to get your answer, but going, okay, it's leading me down this path. Like with me, I had to do this. Well, it didn't work. So, but I was feeling better, but it didn't work on my skin. Okay, well, let's try it this way. Let's try it that way. Let's tweak it a little bit. Well, why is it working sometime and why doesn't it work some of the other time? Well, let's go back to the drawing board and figure this out. we have to be responsible for our own bodies. We've got to be our own doctors. We've got to be our own healers, right? And if that means going to see a healer or a doctor, that's awesome. But now, if you're informed, you can tell them what to do, or if they're telling you something that's total BS, you can tell them, call them on it. I used to do that. I used to fight with them all the time. And I said, well, whoa, wait a minute. That's not true. And I'll tell you why. Oh, but I've been practicing medicine for 50 years. Well, let's see. A, you're not practicing because you're not doing the right thing. You're not trying. And if you can't get it right in 50 years, then you're still practicing something, but I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. And so, next, if you can't fix someone in 50 years, then you're not going to be able to fix me. And that was my clue to, so the real scientific method. Do the research, test it, and see if it works, results-based. If it doesn't work with me, I would do something for 1 to 3 months, depending on the cost, obviously, And if I wasn't getting any results in that period of time, it's next, but I would give it a full treatment, the full Monty. Let's just go for it. Let's just, this. And I thought, wow, with technology and all at the time was the biggest, greatest thing on the planet. I thought, oh my God, I get antioxidant. First time I heard of an antioxidant. So I bought up as much, supply as I could wherever I went, all the health food stores, and it was good. It was okay, but it's only a quiver in the arrow, of life, in your tool chest. Mm-hmm. But that was probably an okay thing. But there's so many other ways to get antioxidants as well, and so many different, sources, and make sure it's a good source versus a bad source. Like I said, good and bad of everything. Mm-hmm. So you just got to have and I think if someone went to the trouble of learning this stuff, then they'll have the discernment to know, oh, that's not true. I know it, or there's 300 ways to cure cancer. Why would I get a mammogram when it's been proven that that's what causes cancer, breast cancer? Mm-hmm. That's why they've been pushing it. I mean, so why would I now? If you need a second, third opinion, which I firmly believe in, don't believe the first person that tells you you're going to die from cancer, because if you believe it, you will. And anyways, and so it just goes on. So if you're
well, the other thing too, Joseph, I actually made this comment in a person's blog the other day, and it was fun to follow up just to see, first of all, if it got posted, which it did. And below that was another comment from somebody who had actually commented on this blog several times. And here was my comment, because it was about a particular something out there that I know to be very viable and very true, that some people out there are deciding to say, well, this is a scam, when it really isn't. It's actually a very good product for what it is. But anyway, what I said first you've got to consider the fact that the Internet is basically the bathroom wall of the world. Anybody can post an opinion, anybody can create a website with no responsibility whatsoever of the outcome. Know that first. Now, there is a lot of great information out there, just like you said, but you've got to do your due diligence and understand where that information is coming from. But it's funny, it's like television. If it's on the Internet or if it's on TV, people just automatically count it as true, and it just blows my mind. And what I'd like to do, because we're just about out of time here, Joseph, if you can, is give out the listeners your website. They can find out more about what you're doing, what you're up to, and the ways that you went about actually turning around the particular, experiences that you were having, as well as others that I've seen here on your website as well.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. My main website is earthhealer.com, but it's spelled differently. Let me spell it for you. It's URTHEALER.com, and that stands for Earth. Stands for You Are the Healer. That's what that is.
I like that.
Yeah, because the only way, your body is such an incredible healing machine. It really is. Get out of the way. Get yourself out of the way. Get the blockages out of the way. And it just knows how to do that. I can't even, with all the studying I've done, I can't even pretend to tell you how the body does any of that. It's just
what we had to do is save that for another program. It would certainly be a delight to have you back on again, because you're one of several people we've brought on over the years. And the most recent one is a gentleman out of California who's spearheading the idea that this autism that we're seeing more and more of is a developmental disorder. He's saying, no, this is a neuroimmune disorder, meaning that's a better way that you'll be able to approach, and he's had miraculous results turning children around who otherwise are just being written off and being heavily dosed with medications. But, Joseph, I'd like to have you back on the program again, and we can talk more.
Love to be back. Yes.
All right. Joseph, one more time, give out that website.
The website is earthhealer.com, URTHEALER.com. Now, if your listeners decide they would like to, we have different products on there, and if they're interested, it's all natural. Comes from rainforest plants. We don't cut down the rainforest to get our products either. But if they decide to call and order something, use a coupon code BEYOND50, obviously for listeners of this show, and then you get 50% off our listed retail prices. So that's our wholesale price.
You gotta love that. All right, yeah. Joseph.
So thank you so much, Dan.
You bet. Thank you for being on the program. Great conversation as always.
A lot of fun. Thank you.
You bet. We want to thank you, the listeners out there. Be sure to find out more about that. We're going to post that on our blog for now because we're still working on our website to get that up for you. But you can find that at beyond50radio.com, or you can just go to beyond50radio.blogspot.com. But just type in Beyond 50. We're going to pop right up there on the top page on your Google search anyway. Click on that, and you'll find out more about what we were talking about today. Again, thank you for joining us. I'm Daniel Davis. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.